Hey guys, how's it going? Mark Bursteiner here, and those of you who know me or watch these videos know that I am quite fond of games of all shapes and sizes, card games, video games, board games, collectible games, all kinds of stuff. And I've been really big into Netrunner since about June or May of this past year. It's a really brilliant, really cool game. It's a living card game, which means cards do come out on a regular basis, but they're not collectible. Once you buy a new pack, you have all of the new cards that have come out. It's a really cool, fun, really smart game, and I think that the way that the living card game works is a lot more cost effective. It's way more affordable than Magic, although I do still play Magic, but I thought I would take a few minutes here and have a look at some of the brand new spoilers that just hit the web yesterday for the brand new deluxe set for Netrunner called Honor and Profit. Honor and Profit is going to focus on the Jinteki faction of corporations and the criminal faction of runners. And if you don't know how Netrunner is played, go look it up. They have great tutorials in here. That's not what this video is for, but I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into the cards that we have seen already, that have already been spoiled from Honor and Profit, and I'm really, really stoked for this set in particular. All right, first up we've got the criminal ID that we have seen already. There's 3 IDs for each of the 2 factions that are included in these deluxe sets. These are really big sets that cost about $30 a piece. So we're looking at the very first ID that we've seen. This is Silhouette Stealth Operative. She's a natural identity, so she's not a cyborg, she's a person. No link, and a pretty basic 40 card and 15 influence. Here's her text. The first time you make a successful run on HQ, you may expose 1 card. This seems okay, especially in this set with this matchup. I think that this actually works pretty well. She's going up against Jinteki, and Jinteki is a little bit wily and conniving with their stuff. You're going to see a lot of traps and things like that. So exposing does go up in value, but I don't think she's as good as Santiago, and I don't think that she's going to be the kind of new de facto criminal runner, especially with Santiago, Gabriel Santiago, and Andromeda both in the meta. I think she's fine. I'm sure she'll see a little bit of playing around, but I just don't think that she's going to see a lot of top-tier play. She obviously pairs really well with a card called Blackguard, which is a console that we've not yet seen, which is from Fear and Loathing, which you can see right here. But until that comes out and we get a better idea how that plays, I don't think she's really worth paying that much attention to. Not to mention the Blackguard costs 11 freaking credits, so there's that. All right, next up we've got Early Bird, which is an event. It's a priority run. It costs you 1 credit, and it's going to cost you 2 influence in terms of deck building, and you can only play it as your first click in the turn, and it's going to let you make a run, and then you gain a click. So you basically get to make a free run. Whether or not that's always wise, I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit of a trap, because it seems like it replaces itself, but it doesn't replace itself in terms of a card, so it's going to cost you a card no matter what. And you sort of get that credit's worth of, that credit's worth of time back with that click that you get, but I'm not sure that the first thing you want to be doing in a turn is making a run. Not totally convinced about that unless you're always going up against HB. And you can get some similar effects out of Doppelganger if that's really what you're going after, but I'm not super excited about this card. I could be totally wrong, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. All right, we've got Legwork, which is an event, costs 2 credits and 2 influence. Make a run on HQ. If successful, access 2 additional cards from HQ. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like if you want to be accessing multiple cards, you want to be able to access them out of R&D. That said, if you're going up against NBN, fast advanced stuff, they tend to have agendas in hand until they're ready to dump them out and then score them almost immediately. So if you're going up against NBN, okay, I can see that, and there's a lot of stuff in this criminal side of this expansion that focuses a lot on HQ. We'll see some Icebreakers really quickly that will focus just on central servers. So I can see this having a little bit of utility, maybe making some sense, but I don't think this is something that's going to really make a whole lot of sense to run in a lot of criminal decks. Unless you know that the meta is really, really heavy with lots of agendas in hand, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Next up, we've got the first Icebreaker of the ones that we've seen so far. We've got Alias. Now, Alias is an Icebreaker that has a 3 install cost, costs 1 MU. It's got 1 strength and 2 influence. For 1 credit, you get to break a sentry subroutine, and for 2 credits, you're going to get to give it 3 strength. caveat here, the alias cannot be used on ice protecting a remote server. Okay, now I think we're talking here. Efficiency is kind of the name of the game with criminal stuff, and I think this does pretty okay. It's not amazing in that not being able to run on a remote server is obviously a really big deal. But if HQ is your big game, if that's what you're after, I can see this getting some inclusion and seeing some play in some criminal decks. Maybe in place of a fairy. Fairies are really, really great, but you only get one use out of them. So if you've got a little bit more economy going on, you can afford to pay for something like this more often than once. I think it could see a little bit of play. At 4 strength, I think after a 2 credit buff, I think that's great. I think that's great pricing on that. I'm super happy with that. But you're going to need to spend another click to keep breaking those subroutines. So he is already capable of dealing with like Draco and Caduceus and Rototurret and Ichi 1.0. So that's pretty good, and that's only after a 2 credit buff. So I can see that doing pretty okay. But at 3 credits to play, Criminal usually likes to keep things a little bit lighter than this. But I am excited to see how this one pans out. All right, kind of in the same vein, we've got Breach, another Icebreaker. This is a Fractor. It's going to cost you 2 to install, 1 memory unit, and it's got 2 strength and 2 influence. For 2 credits, you're going to get to break 3 barrier subroutines. And for 2 credits, you're going to get 4 strength. Breach has the same caveat as Alias does. It can't be used on ice protecting a remote server. Seems a little weird, man. Seems like Leviathan's little baby brother, and Leviathan is not particularly good. That thing is really big and really expensive and really clunky, and yes, criminals aren't particularly good with code gates, but that is just not the way to do it. I mean, you can get around them in other ways. I feel kind of the same way about Breach. I'm a little bit on the fence about it, again, like Alias. The caveat of not being able to run on a remote server is a really, really big one. That's really, really big. But like I said last time with Alias, if HQ is that big of a game for you, it does it pretty affordably. It's not amazing, but two cost investment to get that thing installed. And I mean, looking at it, realistically, you're probably going to get to break all the subroutines for 4 credits. So while that's not amazing, it's not awful by any means. And it definitely is a really nice alternative to Aurora if you're not super worried about running on remote servers. If you're focusing on HQ or you're focusing on R&D, Aurora is pretty pricey already. So maybe it might, I stress might, be able to replace Corrodor in some decks. But outside of niche play, I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. Next up, we've got Grappling Hook, another program, but this one is not an Icebreaker, though it does break subroutines. It's going to cost you 2 credits. It's got 1 MU and 2 influence. Trash the sucker, and you break all but 1 subroutines on a piece of ice. Wow, okay, so that's a pretty explosive effect, and it does seem like kind of a high price to pay to only be able to use it once, but you got to remember, we do this with Fairy all the time, and with Fairy, you might often end up spending more than 2 credits to break X amount of subroutines. So if you're going up against something with 2 or 3 subroutines, I can definitely see this making sense. But I mean, it is, again, just like Fairy, it's going to cost you a card. So if you really need to get in there, this is the clincher, this is what's going to get you through and close out the game for you, okay, I can see that making a lot of sense. Or, just as spot removal, so to speak, if you you need to get into a server, they just installed something, they've got 2 advancement counters on it. So I can definitely see this seeing a little bit of play. Whether or not it's going to be incredibly effective, I'm not totally sure. But right at first glance, I do kind of like it. Breaking all but 1 subroutine it seems pretty okay. I can definitely see myself making a run, expecting to hit one of those subroutines, maybe be okay with trashing a program or be okay with taking a tag as long as I make it through that particular run, and I can definitely see this coming in handy in situations like that. All right, next up we've got Oracle May. Man, oh man, oh man. Oracle May is a unique resource. She's a connection. 1 install cost and 1 influence. Worth noting here, this is a neutral card with 1 influence. You can only use her once per turn. For a click, you name a card type, reveal the top card of your stack, and if the revealed card is the name type, you get to draw it and then gain 2 credits. Otherwise, if you're wrong, you got to trash that card. Man, that is pretty serious. Is this kind of a reason to run Motivation? I kind of think it is. I saw this and I was like super stoked because I was, okay, cool, this is motivation. We got a combo here, huh? But I'm not totally sure that excitement was well warranted. I think the best example here, or best comparison anyway, is Professional Contacts. Professional Contacts already sees a ton of top tier play, and it's in the same faction as Motivation, so you absolutely need Motivation in order to make Oracle May even worth considering. So these three cards are going to be in a lot of people's minds all at once. Is this better? Is this combo of Motivation and Oracle May even worth considering comparing to Professional Contacts? Is it better? I don't know. I mean, it's asking you to run 2 cards for a similar effect. It's not exactly the same effect, and you're definitely going to get a lot of value of it. But the fact that you can only do it once per turn definitely puts a bit of a stopper there. You know, very often you'll see pros in top tier play run a Proco and then click it, you know, and then do something, or click it twice. And that's going to net you 2 cards in 2 credits. So granted, Proco does cost a little bit more to get into play at 5 credits, but I don't know, it still seems like Professional Contacts is definitely the more consistent, reliable option here. I can see for a Johnny, though. For a Johnny, it would make a lot of sense to want to run that kind of a deck, run Motivation and this, and then just constantly be netting a card in 2 credits at the beginning of every turn. Seems okay. I suppose it makes sense, but I'm not sure this is going to see that kind of top-tier play that Proco sees. All right, next up we've got the Jinteki faction of cards that we're going to take a look at here. These are, I think, kind of the more spicy, really exciting ones. That was some decent criminal stuff, but I think a lot of the really good stuff we've still yet to see. But this is some really exciting Jinteki stuff. So let's get right into it. This is the first identity that we've gotten to take a look at from the Honor and Profit expansion. This is Harmony Medtech. It is a division. It's a 40-12, and each player needs 1 fewer agenda point to win the game. Wow. Wow. So Jinteki Fast Advance is definitely going to be a thing, it looks like. I think this lower influence limit isn't irrelevant. That means you have to be a little bit more careful with your picks. Trick of Light is thankfully already in faction, and Ice Wall and Sansan are definitely affordable. But you know, the rest of the stuff that you're going to use is going to be a really difficult call to make. Those 3 influence points really make a really big difference when you're looking at Fast Advance, especially for something like Jinteki, when this is like a new thing, a new archetype that they're actually going to be able to hopefully slot into. The other thing to note about this one, it also affects the runner. But if your deck is doing its job, which presumably it is, it shouldn't be that big of a problem, especially considering one of the agendas that we've already seen, which we're going to take a look at next, which is mind-blowing for this kind of situation. All right, next up we've got Medical Breakthrough. Now, this thing is ridiculous. All right, we've got an agenda. Obviously, it's a research subtype. Advancement cost of 4 and a score of 2. Now, that seems like okay, like a little bit high. Like, you know, at this point, just magic term, vanilla test. At this point, we're like, okay, what does this do? This is the text on the card. Are you ready for this? Lower the advancement requirement of each medical breakthrough by 1. This ability is active even while medical breakthrough is in the runner's score area. Man, talk about your Jinteki Fast Advance, man. This is bonkers. This is insane to me. Well, first of all, this is the first card that we've seen that actually takes effect from the runner's score area, so that's worth noting. But this thing punishes the runner for a score. I mean, you know, this is Jinteki's bread and butter, I feel like. You know, this is a trap in the shape of an agenda, a little bit like Fetal EI, but not quite. You know, once this happens, they can't undo it. So this means that the next breakthrough that you play is going to be a 3-2, which is perfectly within the realm of realistic stuff for a fast advanced deck. I mean, that's insane. Then you score that thing, and then you've got that third breakthrough that's sitting somewhere in your deck. I mean, the chances that you're going to get all of them are very unlikely, but I think this seems to me like a de facto kind of auto-include for Jinteki decks that are running this sort of fast advance archetype. You kind of want them to score the first one so that if you've got another one in hand, You know, eventually that's going to be a 2-2 maybe if you can score the other two. I mean, maybe this is best case scenario mentality here. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but this seems really crazy. It seems like this Jinteki sort of fast advance is going to have a lot of momentum. Like, this seems to me like the Jinteki version of AstroScript or something like that. I love this card. I'm really, really excited to run it as a 3 of, just auto-include in almost every Jinteki deck, even the trap ones, because this is just it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, next up we've got an asset, an executive. His name is Chairman Hero. As you might imagine, he is a chairman, so he is unique, a little bit like Director Haas. In fact, this is one of a cycle, so I'll get to that in a second. The res cost for this sucker is 2. Trash cost is 6, a whopping 6, and the influence cost is 5. My goodness, that's a lot. The runner's maximum hand size is reduced by 2. If Chairman Hero is trash while being accessed, added to the runner score area as an agenda worth 2 agenda points. Man, I really like Director Haas. I love Director Haas. I think that's one of my favorite cards to play as Haas Bayreuth, and I really like this whole cycle. I can't wait to see the rest of them. The whole like CEO or director cycle or whatever is really, really cool. Each corp, you know, I like it a lot. I get excited about flavory, things like that, Vorthos type stuff. That, you know, they get compromised and then they benefit the runner some way. I think it's kind of cool. But I think that this is a perfectly reasonable play, and I think it really puts pressure on the runner. You know, when they're sticking at 3 cards in hand, they've got to be spending valuable clicks to keep that up, especially in a Jinteki deck, which half of their ice is like net damage. You know, next thing they know, they could be flatlining. So this is really, really exciting for me. I think even if they want to, this is the same thing with Director Haas, because she also costs 6 to trash. You know, that's another reason why I like these cycles a lot. 6 credits is a lot of credits. I'd be really surprised. You know, if you put this sucker in a even remotely protected server, the chances that they have 6 credits when they get there is so low. I can't imagine that situation. And I think just that effect is that's huge. That's a really big effect for a really, really reasonable cost. You know, 2 credits is perfectly reasonable. I think this is going to see quite a bit of play, especially in this kind of new age of Jinteki, of kind of punishing the runner while doing this fast advance thing. I think it really, really slots in really, really nicely. Actually, even more so in kind of older Jinteki, trap Jinteki, which well, I mean, is still around. But I'm really, really excited about this card. Really stoked. All right, next up, we've got another card that I'm about to pee myself over. This one is Mushin no Shin. This is part of the double cycle, so it's an operation double. Costs 0 credits. You read that correctly, 0 credits. 2 influence. As an additional cost to play this operation, spend a click. So all the doubles cost 2 clicks to play. Install an asset, agenda, or upgrade from HQ in a new remote server. Place 3 advancement tokens on that card. You cannot score or res that card until your next turn begins. What? What? I mean, this is bonkers. This is bonkers. Jinteki has always been about the like runner's gambit thing, you know, like, are you going to run on this? You know, there's an X amount of advancement tokens on it. And I think this puts you in a position where, you know, you don't have to worry about starting something, leaving it there, like installing something in a remote server unprotected, you know, whatever. Those kinds of situations where it really lets on to the runner that this is something that you want them to access. Those situations don't matter because you can just Mushin no Shin into an unprotected remote server and, you know, it's on you, man. Could be anything. Could be anything. The time leading up to when you're at 3 advancement tokens is really important, and it gives them a lot of information. This is crazy. Yeah, absolutely. It puts a little bit of control into the runner's hands. But if that is a trap, if you're dumping anything, any trap ever, any trap into there, they could get totally blown out. They could get totally. And I know that if I were the runner, I would be thinking twice, 3 times, 4 times before I made a run on that server. It depends on what time of the game it is. It's just, oh man. What a great card. This is probably, man, maybe one of my favorite double cards. This is actually Jinteki's 2nd really good double card Their first one was Celebrity Gift. Man, what a couple of powerhouse cards for Jinteki, which kind of really needed the love right now anyway. Not to mention that it just gets better if you have a server. Like, the floor on this thing is so low and the ceiling is so high. The floor is they take the agenda. It was an agenda that you could have scored next turn, but ideally you're not playing that. You're not going to play it that way. You're going to play a trap there, maybe. It's going to be on the runner to make that decision. Not to mention it costs 0 credits. It costs 0 credits. It's 2 clicks and 0 credits. Like, what? What? You can leave yourself enough money to res ice and advance 3 times? 3 times. That's crazy. You're getting 3 clicks and 3 credits worth of value on this thing. That's just so much value. You can even, if you really wanted to play on the edge, you could just advance this stuff, just use Mushin with an empty wallet, or 2-3 credits, whatever. Don't even leave enough ice or enough money to res that ice, and just see what happens. Who knows? Who knows? Oh God, what a great card, and it's only 2 influence. Man, I'm super stoked on this one. All right, we're almost done. We are at the first bit of ice in Honor and Profit. We've got Inazuma. It is a code gate, which is worth noting. We haven't seen anything in Honor and Profit from the criminal side yet that can break a code gate. So I imagine we're going to see one very soon. It's a res 3, 5 strength. That's a lot of strength, man. That's a lot of strength, and influence 2. The runner, first subroutine, the runner cannot break any subroutines on the next piece of ice he or she encounters during this run. And a second subroutine, the runner cannot jack out until after encountering the next piece of ice during this run. Man, this thing is a beating. It's tough to deal with as a criminal. It's a code gate, just right off the bat. Right off the bat, it's tough to deal with. And these sets, these deluxe sets, have kind of pre-constructed scenarios that come with them for people who want to duel them against each other as decks that are built to play against one another. And the criminal's code gate breaker better be damn good. And you better be able to search it up, because in a pre-constructed scenario like that, man, this thing is just going to be a total, you're just not getting in that server. That's just not going to happen. Sorry. But in the current metagame, there are a lot of things that are going to get through this. Obviously, Femme Fatale is a big one, deals with code gates quite nicely. There's a lot of out-of-faction stuff for the criminal that can deal with code gates, and obviously Shapers have never had problems with code gates. But man, oh man, if this thing sticks in any kind of reasonable scenario, what a beating. Stick a chum in front of it, and then chum up the Inazuma, and then the thing that's behind it, like Archer behind the Inazuma, or whatever, just any of Hasbiroid's gigantic dudes. It's only 2 influence. So you put this through, one of Hasbiroid's issues is that you can click through those subroutines. I mean, it's not necessarily an issue, but features, maybe it's a feature, not a bug, but my goodness. 2 influence for an Inazuma in a Hasbiroid deck, and you've got your, the stuff that lets you res for a little bit cheaper. You've got Awakening Centers. You've got all kinds of situations that make this thing just absolutely strong as hell, and it's only 3 to res. 3 to res. I like this thing a lot. I'm really excited to play with this. All right, the last one we're going to take a look at here is one more asset, and this one is actually neutral. It's called Plan B. It's a 0 res, trash cost of 1, no influence. Plan B can be advanced. If the runner accesses Plan B, he may reveal and score an agenda from HQ with an advancement requirement equal to or less than the number of advancement tokens on Plan B. Wow, right off the bat, this one is really bonkers. I saw this and I had to read it 3 times to make sure I understood, I wasn't misreading it. I don't know that it's amazingly good, but it feels at home in Jinteki, despite it being neutral. Yeah, for this price, you could just score a 2-1 and call it a day. But if you install and the runner accesses, presumably the runner had to make it through some ice. So that seems like it's kind of worth the card for me. If it just said Operation, the runner suffers the effects of, because they're probably going to, 1 subroutine or 2 is going to run. Or even if they don't, if it just said Operation, the runner loses 5 credits, whatever. Because A, they're going to pay 1 credit to try and trash the thing. For 1. And they're going to have to pay to get through there. I mean, I'd be pretty happy if I had an operation that just said runner loses X amount of credits. Seems okay. Sure, that's not what it says, but I feel like oftentimes that's probably how it's going to end up. Not to mention the flexibility is kind of cool. You know, the longer the runner waits, the bigger an agenda you can score. But this is also kind of the downside to it, because worst case scenario, the floor on this thing is about as low as the ceiling is high. The worst case scenario is really, really bad. The possibility that you end up with this just sitting there at like 4 advancement tokens is very, very real. Like, it could just sit there. And since it relies on the runner accessing it in order to trigger its effect, you know, it's not like it's a trapper. It's not like it's an actual agenda. At that point, then you've wasted, you know, however many clicks. So like 3 clicks and 3 credits, and the click to install it, and then now you're just down, and it's just miserable for tempo. But best case scenario is actually pretty great. You know, they make it through the whole server. They think they're about to steal it, and you end up just scoring the damn thing. The other cool thing to think about here is it actually kind of gives Exploratory Romp a kind of reason to exist. So that's kind of cool. You can pop in, get the advancement counters off of there, and now they're back to square one and they start advancing again, and they have to wait for you to actually make it through again to do. That said, though, from the runner's perspective, that does seem like an awful lot of money to be spending on just an exploratory romp. You know, if it's readily available, then maybe go for it. But I'm excited to see how this one pans out. I'm not quite as excited as everybody else is about it. I do think it's just like the card text on it is just insane. It's crazy, and I really like that Fantasy Flight is really adventurous with this kind of stuff. But I'm excited to see how this one pans out. And that's about it. That's all the cards that we've seen so far for Honor and Profit. I'm really, really excited for this deluxe set. We still have the rest of the spin cycle to see how the rest of these things pan out. We haven't seen the entirety of the last 3 sets in the spin cycle, but Honor and Profit is supposed to be out in the late end of the first quarter of 2014. We don't have an exact date yet, but Mala Tempora just came out. And there's a lot of really, really great stuff in there for Anarchs. Reina Roja's in there, and lots of stuff for Caisas. We'll see if that ends up being a thing, that kind of tribal feel. We'll see if that pans out. But in the meantime, there are other videos that you can check out. If you liked this one, hit the like button down below. It really kind of helps out me in the video. And sure, share it, you know. Put it on Twitter or the Faceplace or Google+, whatever you feel into. I would very much appreciate it. That would be really cool. And if you want to see more videos like this, let me know. And if you think I'm a total idiot and wrong about some of these cards, please let me know in the comments. I would love to talk about them. And thank you very much for taking the time to watch this silly video that I made for you. I'll see you soon in the next one, I suppose.